Would you like to learn how you can use these Robinson Curriculum Phonics flashcards? And if you'd like to go from questions to confidence when it comes to this curriculum, make sure you subscribe. And like I said before, we're going to start a new series called How to Use, where we go through all the different resources and components of this curriculum. So first off, we're going to talk about the Phonics flashcards. Now, although in this format it is a new product, the Phonics flashcards are not new to RC. They've always been available with the CDs. You can print them yourself. A lot of people laminate them to make them more sturdy, or you can also print them off of RC online. However, now they have become available in this ready-made format. These cards are nice and big. They are obviously coded, meant for long time use. So if you have more than one child, this is a great investment, and they are very affordable. I think they are pretty unique in format, where the back of them has all the letter sounds and examples, and I'm going to show you in this video how you can use them. Now, teaching your child how to read can seem like a really overwhelming task. However, rest assured that if you know how to read, you can teach your child how to read. Now, you have to keep in mind that you are a mature reader. You can quickly read articles on your phone or read long novels. And so you have to keep this in mind, because the tendency is to overburden a child with too much information too soon. You have to go really slow with lots of repetition. Now, there is obviously a lot of debate when it comes to teaching a child how to read, but just remember that no program, even a phonics-based program, is perfect. Nothing is 100% complete. But as you go, you will figure it out, because you are going to simply answer your child's questions. You're going to go at their speed. And so this is just a game plan to get you started and using these phonics cards to then transition into one of the earlier books on the Robinson curriculum, which is the McGuffey's Primer. Now, there are 4 stages when it comes to reading. There's decoding, fluency, information, and advanced comprehension. Decoding is obviously the most challenging but fundamental part of it, where they learn how to string sounds together to make words, including both McGuffey primers. Fluency is where very little thought is given to it. It just kind of becomes automatic. And this stage includes the McGuffey's first and second reader. Now, by the time they complete this stage, they are ready to read to learn. So now the first step is just to go over the letters and their sounds. And you don't have to do all of them every day. You can go through a few cards, a couple maybe. And as you're teaching them the letters, you're also teaching them the sounds. One of the things that I think make these cards very unique and helpful is that in the back of the card, they have all the different sounds that that letter makes. Now, the order to this is actually very helpful, because the first sound is ah, and actually the short ah sound is used 70% of the time in the written language. So if your child is reading a word and they see this letter, they will probably try the first sound, which is ah. So majority of the time they will be right. So for that reason, I really appreciate these cards. All right, so let's get started in how you can use these cards step by step. All right, so first you would use this card, the letter A. You would show it to your child. This is A, and then say, turn it around. A says ah, a, So you go through those sounds, you repeat the sounds. You can use the examples if you want, but the important thing is the sounds. And then they also print the letter. And it's also very important that they say the sound as they print the letter. So again, you would say, this is A. A says ah, a, Okay, so you're going through that. They're saying it, they're repeating it. And then it's very important that they also print the letter, that they write the letter, and also very important that they say the sounds as they're writing the letter. And so you could do the same thing with E. E says in send and net, E in he and we, I in pretty, silent E cane, and E on the end makes first vowel long. You could just simplify and just do maybe the first 2 sounds. E says and E. So then you're going through this card. And the same thing, you would have them write it, you would have them say the sound as they're writing it. Now that you've gone over these 2 cards, you can show both of them to the child and say, which one says which one says ah? And so they're telling you which is which. Then you can move on to instructing your child to write down the sound that says or ah. So that's how you practice these two sounds. Then you can move on to some consonants such as N, M, R, C, H, B, P, and T. Once they know these sounds, then you can make a variety of different words, and that's where the fun really begins. And again, great thing about these flashcards is that the back has all the sounds that the letter makes. So for example, you could say, this is C, C says K in cat and S in circus. Or you could just do the sounds, C says K and S. So same thing, you would go through this process like we did with A and E. You can go through it with all these consonants. Make sure that they have them really down before you move out. So now they should be able to read a variety of different blends such as am, an, at, man, men, met, net, rat, cat, bat, hat, hen, ten, pen, pan, ham, me, he, be. So those are some words, some blends that you can practice. Now you want to make sure that you spend a lot of time on this list, a lot of repetition, because decoding is the most crucial skill. Once they have mastered this, then you have conquered the most difficult part in teaching someone how to read. Yes, there is still a whole great deal to learn. However, the most crucial part you've already mastered. And you want to make sure that you don't push too hard. Leave the lesson off on a good place, on a good note with something that they've mastered, and just get ready to teach and reteach. I have found that it's really fun for them to spell out words with these cards, and you can change the order obviously and make different words and just let them practice reading them. And again, it's really important that you have them writing sounds down, writing some blends, writing some words, so you can give them a word like mat to write down. And if they say, I can't remember what letter that starts with, you could say it's the letter that says or I can't remember what goes in the middle. It's the letter that says A and A. So practice, practice, practice is the name of the game at this stage. And actually there's a lot of different games that you can think of to give more practice. So next you would practice the letter O, and same thing. This is O, and it says A in God, O in go and so, U and do and move, O and hope, in sun and love. So same thing, same concept. You can also at this point introduce OY, OI. OI says oi in join and noise. OY says joy and boy. So you can also introduce these when you're introducing O. So now at this point they have learned several consonants and also the vowels A, E, and O, and even a few pairs like oi and oi. If you have them, you can use your McGuffey readers from pages 8 to 17. And you would do the same thing, just read it to them, have them read it to you, do a little bit dictation, have them write the words down, and then once you get to lesson 17, you can put the book away and then keep working on more phonics flashcards. You want to help them master the rest of the vowels, U, I, and Y. And you also want to make sure that they're strong on all the consonants now. After that, you want to move on to the most common two-letter sounds, such as CK, SH, CH, also TH, WH, and NG. And you would do the same process. CH says ch in church, k in school, and sh in chandelier. You can go through that. SH says sh in sheep and fish. So then you're going to work on those. Then you want to move on to pairs such as AI and AY, EU, EW, and so on. And all these cards are included in the complete set. Then you want to move on to the three-letter phonograms such as TCH and ING. Again, TCH says ch in catch and patch. So then you would work on these. Again, this is a time where you want to play a lot of games with them and make this fun. And after they have mastered all those phonographs, then you can go back to your McGuffey's primer. Now, you never want to say, oh, you should know that, you should know that sound. You want to keep it upbeat, keep it joyful. There is reading time and then there is instructional time. So if they make a mistake somewhere, just jot it down and make a note that you have to practice that during your next instructional time. But keep this time of reading together very sweet and joyful and encouraging. Now, as you're going through the lessons, a tip that you can use is to just take one of the cards and just let them focus on the sentence that they're reading at that moment. And you want them to be good readers using conversational tone. So if they're reading such as, let us go out, then you might want to encourage them to read it silently to themselves and then read it out loud when they're ready. Also, very much in the spirit of 100 easy lessons, you can ask them which one is the word go, which one is the word out. Before you start a story, you can look at the picture and ask them, what do you think this story is going to be about? And you don't have to do more than one lesson a day. And if even that is too difficult, then just ditch the book and go back to working on the phonics flashcards. So now let's move on to the pictorial primer, the first 50 lessons. So for example, lesson 2, you can have them spell the words as dictation when you're reading it to them, or you can have them copy the words. You can read each sentence separately and then read it as a paragraph. It can also be really fun to make each word into a flashcard. Just get regular index cards and write down each word and then have them make the sentence themselves that makes sense, or make different sentences out of the same words. And as they go along, when you get to a new phonogram, you can work on it. For example, this lesson has wing, sing, ring, king, kings, ring, sings. So you can, before you start this lesson, teach them the ing if you haven't already, before they move on to that lesson. So whenever you see a new phonogram, just practice the card. And obviously the McGuffies are a homeschool favorite because they're filled with great stories, great morals, great character qualities in the children. So for that reason, also parents really favor using this as a primer. But there are other ones out there, and you can even use things like Cat in the Hat if that's something that you prefer, whatever you have on hand. And also read aloud to them a ton. Let them see you reading, model it for them. That gets them excited about reading when they see you doing it. So don't just say, well, you know how to read now, so you're off on your own. Still read to them, have them read to you, have them see you reading. And so what does a reading lesson look like? Well, when you come to a new lesson, you look at the pictures, you can ask them, what do you think this story is going to be about? Teach and or review phonograms that you think might be an issue. Have them read it aloud to you so you can diagnose if there's any issues, if they're having any problems. And then follow up with some spelling, grammar, penmanship, so they actually learn these words in context. The McGuffey set has its own spelling book, and it's very similar actually to the Professor K spelling book, where you're just where it's a list of word families and you can work on one word family each day. That really helps improve a child's spelling. Now, the Robinson curriculum has a book list that they're supposed to read from the beginning all the way to the end. The first few titles, I actually prefer for them to read with me. Again, having them read it aloud to me so I can diagnose if there's any problems and I can see if they're really comprehending what they're reading. So for the first reader book, which is one of the early books on the RC list, I'll give you an example of what a lesson can look like. Lesson 1, the new book. You would teach or review the cards EAR and OO. Review all the sounds that they make, teach them, review them because they are appearing in the lesson. Then I would ask them to find words, like find me the word must. So I'd have them find words for me. And then after you read the lesson, for example, taking the word must, you can think of different word families to make. For example, just, must, bust, trust. And then also just talk about it. Do you like getting new books? What are your favorite types of books? Things like that. Now, I've given you some ideas in this video how to use these phonics flashcards. But if you're looking for more details, especially if you are using the McGuffey readers, I recommend the Parent-Teacher Guide to the original McGuffey readers. This is by Ruth Beachick, and it is filled with such great information. This is how I knew exactly how to use these flashcards to teach a child how to read that progression. And these flashcards just go so perfectly with this book. I also recommend her other book, The 3 R's. This is a great book for grades K, 1, 2, and 3, and this will give you a great start to the Robinson curriculum. You don't have to buy expensive curriculums for those early years. You can use something like this, or something a little bit more extensive as this to teach your child how to read. Also math, very easy. Learn some math facts, do some counting. There's also raised arithmetic available with RC Online. The first few lessons, just counting, skip counting, being able to read 2-digit numbers. That's really helpful. And then writing, there's a lot of writing again involved with this way of learning how to read, and just some simple copy work. That's really all you need to have a good foundation to get started. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video. Comment below if you have any questions also. Thank you. Bye.